Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to the Whole Woman podcast. I am here today with my friend Rachel, and she is going to answer a lot of questions. She brought something up to me a couple weeks ago. I looked it up. I don't get it. And so we decided to do a podcast because, if this is really a thing, which she tells me it is,
It is.
how it's kind of like realizing that PMS might be a thing. It's kind of a thing. It's like a thing that happens in this world, in this universe, in this whatever that you have no control over. And so we are going to learn about Mercury in retrograde today. And let me just like jump in real quick. I'm gonna like
Yeah.
talk and then because I'm gonna be like sitting with my mouth shut for the whole rest of the podcast. So I'm gonna use up my time in the beginning. Um, I was talking to Rachel about all these things going on in my life and how I couldn't make decisions about this and how I felt like I was all over the place with that and how things are just like I thought were under control were not. And she said to me, Mercury is in retrograde. That's what's supposed to be happening right now. And I said, what are you talking about? And she shared that there's this thing. And that's where I'm going to leave it because I've read three articles and the Farmer's Almanac, and I just don't know enough about it to talk about it. So I'm going to say, Rachel, why did this happen to me?
Well, honey, it's happening to everyone, so just don't feel singled out. But it's not just going to be me talking. We're having a conversation about it. I'm curious to know, what is it you don't understand? Let's start there. What is the concept of it that it just isn't like clicking for you?
I don't live on Mercury. If all of a sudden my planet started going backwards, I'd understand being a little messed up. But it's not the case. And so I don't get any of it. I don't like once upon a time when I was like a child and the newspaper was still
Huh.
delivered to our front doorstep, I would pull out the funnies and the horoscope was always there and I would read my horoscope.
Okay.
That's like the closest thing I have to anything with the planets, the signs. I know I'm a Sagittarius. I know we're the same. So when you
Yeah.
tell me something is me, I'll believe you because I don't
Okay.
know anything different. So tell us, what does it mean when Mercury is in retrograde?
Well, let's just start by stating I am not an astrologist, but this is something that I was taught a handful of years ago. And I have seen how it applies to not only my life, but when we are in it, which we are in it right now, we are in it until August 10th, FYI, how things can really go awry. And this particular Mercury retrograde is hitting me particularly hard as far as communication. So that's interesting. Sometimes when I know it's coming, I just breeze through it because I don't do the things that they say not to do. So during Mercury retrograde, it's a time for us to slow down because everything is going to feel like I'm rushing, I'm forgetting details, I'm getting delayed. They say the top three things that gets affected during Mercury retrograde is your technology, your communication, and travel plans. So I just tend to not do anything surrounding those things during this time. Now, obviously, it's unavoidable, but communication, this Mercury retrograde is hitting me so hard with everybody. Like, I'm just dumbfounded because I think I'm being so clear, and people are like questioning me, like, or repeating what I'm saying, but they're repeating it differently. I'm like, I just said that. So, that is a perfect example of communication during this time. I hope I'm being clear so far.
You are, but I still like, okay, so let's go way basic.
Okay.
Is Mercury really going in an opposite direction around the sun?
That is the illusion to hopefully explain it to people. I don't, again, I'm not an astrologist and I don't look at the planets in their position. So I don't know that part. I know the after effects of what's happening during this 3 week period. So
Okay.
that's really all I can elaborate on.
Okay. And so you said it happens four times a year.
Well, in a shit year, yes, but in a good year like this year, it's only going to be three.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things I saw when I was looking it up and trying to understand, my
Yeah.
friend,
Yeah.
is like it says, well, if Mercury retrograde is in Leo, or if it's in Sagittarius, or if it's in Aries, or whatever, what does that mean that it affects the person whose house it's in more or differently, or it's just where it is in the seasonal calendar? Tell me, educate me. Tell me more.
Again, not an astrologist, so I can't answer those questions distinctly, but I can say for me, what I believe is yes, it does affect all those things that you just said. Maybe the next one is fully in our sign, so it starts in Sagittarius and goes into Scorpio. So maybe next, the final one for 2025 is going to affect us differently. I don't know. But like I said, even though right now I wrote it down, we are in Leo and it was going to go into Cancer, those signs I know nothing about, but it is affecting me big time this time. And so yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't really answer that question for you. Maybe we should get an astrologist as a guest next time.
That would be fun.
Yeah, next Mercury retro, the final one for 2025 will be 11/9 through 11/29. So I'm sure we can, hello listeners, help us out. Do you know an astrologist who's a professional Mercury retrograder? And we want to talk to her.
Oh, okay. So you explained how communication has been affected for you this time. Talk about technology. Like, talk about technology.
I think, okay, all right. So technology, it can be anything from your computer going haywire to shutdowns to programs not working. It just affects, I mean, sometimes my bestie will say, "Are we in Mercury retrograde because our whole system shut down?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, we are."
Did you know
So I,
Starlink went down last week?
huh?
Starlink went down worldwide last week.
Well, there you go. Mercury retrograde's the culprit. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But I want to kind of remind our listeners that I think the real message in Mercury retrograde is a time for you to slow down, stop rushing through life, stop just being on autopilot. And the one thing that I do want to talk about are the upsides to Mercury retrograde. Because I think when we hear about it, we're just like, oh God, I can't do anything. I have to go sit in my house for 3 weeks. And that's not true.
Mhm.
This article uses the three R's, which I love. So it's revisiting, revising, or reconnecting.
Mm,
So let's talk about those three things because that is a great time for if you've been putting something off. Let's use you as an example since we talked about your book not too long ago. Was there ever a time, because you said you start and stop, where you just felt compelled, like, this is it. This is the time I'm going to write it. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to do it.
mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, it would be interesting to know if we were in a Mercury retrograde cycle at that time, because those are the things that this is the best time to do, to complete a task, to complete something that you've been ruminating and thinking about. And I really want to do this, or reconnecting with people that you are thinking about all the time. So it's not just a negative thing, it's not just a bad thing. And right now it is exactly 2:22 on the clock. And I just love signals like that. I love signals from the universe. I think they're awesome. I think it made me sit and pause for a moment and appreciate that I got to see that or witness that. And so that's what I use Mercury retrograde for, is a time to reflect on everything that I keep telling myself I'm going to do, or to not put extra stress on myself. Like I have to be somewhere that's a half hour away in 5 minutes. Like, why would you do that to yourself? It's
Right.
not going to end well, right? So those are the things that I choose to, when this time of year happens, it's just to remind myself. So I think,
I
oh, go ahead.
that no, that's great. I mean, like I that makes sense to me. And sometimes I think we get into just the spin. I've noticed that when my communication is at its poorest, when everything's falling apart and nothing seems to work and everything, it's when I'm going 150 miles an hour. And it works sometimes, but it doesn't certainly work. You and I are both about sustainability, right? And long-term results, long-term care of ourselves. So it does make sense. And one of the things, like the article that I read that I was telling you about when I first I really loved the whole thing, and it was on a yoga site, right?
Mhm.
But it talks about how the next few weeks invite spaciousness into our minds, our words, and our days. This Mercury retrograde isn't about anyone else, it's all about you. And so I like the whole, like, the positive spin that you just put on it, because it's like it says it rules your Mercury rules your mind, which factors in the communication and mental processing and learning and memory. And and a lot of times, well, for me, it has nothing to do with Mercury retrograde because I didn't know it even existed, right? But for me, like it seemed so real when you talked about it, because this time of summer is when I hit this feeling like, whoa, you got to slow down. You're not enjoying it. You're not, you haven't seen your people, you haven't been outside, you haven't experienced the things, you haven't even been to the pool once this year, whatever. And so I did enjoy that piece of it. I just didn't know, I still don't know how it all works, you know?
Think
And
you have to know how it works, right?
yeah.
For me, I've done enough research to understand that it's 3 times a year, that there's a post shadow, there's Mercury retrograde, a pre-shadow and a post-shadow and Mercury retrograde in between. So even though it technically is 3 weeks, it's more like six. And but I just use it as a guide because I do appreciate that when you are trying to feel like you have to get everything done today, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling like this person is not getting you, this is normally the time of year where these things come up for people.
Mm.
And this is an opportunity for you to learn about people, how you deal with them, learn about yourself. How are you presenting yourself? And I think one of the most valuable things I've learned during this communication phase is that not everybody is going to understand what you're saying. I think it's valuable to understand or know that people learn differently and they absorb information differently. So learning how to say something in a different way is very valuable to your relationships. And I think it's so cool that, now if someone's looking at me or they're asking what I feel is the same question over and over again, I say, hey, how can I say this to you in a different way that you'll understand? Or what more information do you need from me to make this clear to you? And I'm not trying to belittle you. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm being honest because I do want you to understand, and I don't want us to get annoyed or frustrated with each other because we're not getting each other. There's always a different way to relay a message, and that's what one of the most valuable lessons I've learned during Mercury retrograde. And that if you're rushing to get somewhere, just don't. Just don't, because that's how you can really like elevate your blood pressure and your stress level if you're giving yourself 30 minutes, and this was back when I lived in New York, to get across town.
Right.
That doesn't, no, you can't do that. There's no way to do that in New York City. And during any kind of rush hour, forget it. So to get angry and more angry and frustrated, like, oh my God, can you just run all these red lights? Like whatever the angst is, when you know that it's this time of year, like you have a choice to learn how to behave differently. And for me, that's the valuable lesson during Mercury retrograde.
Hmm. It's interesting that the next one, now that you told us, the listeners and I, about this, the next one will cover Thanksgiving, which is another time where all of these, I mean, it's like the beginning of the holiday season, right? And opportunities where you can either get together and you can have a wonderful time, or you can get together and it can be everything you hoped it wouldn't be, right? Because somebody says something that makes somebody else mad. And so I like the whole thought of the slowdown happening again at the beginning of the holiday season. It's just a good frame of mind to put yourself in before one of the busiest times of the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. Good
So
on
how
you.
do you know? Do you put it like, do you just sense? Do you know? Do you, I mean, like, do you have a calendar that tells you it's happening? How did you know? When I was telling you I was feeling out of whack and everything, and you said, oh, that's because, like, how do you know that?
Well, I follow enough like positive accounts on Instagram that my feed is flooded with information like this.
Okay.
But I also, you can Google it, like what are the Mercury retrograde dates for 2025, and they'll pop up for you.
Mm.
And you can put them in your own personal calendar if you want. But again, I follow so many accounts that guess what Friday
Gotcha.
is? So
Okay.
I know it's coming.
Yep. So how do you plan for it? How do you, what changes do you make when you know that it's coming?
I definitely normally don't travel during this time, but if I have to, I give myself plenty of time. I don't rush. And if, I get delays at the airport or it's just, it is what it is. And there's no point in getting myself aggro about it because what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Hmm. Well, that's 365 days a year. I think that like people get so irritated traveling. It's like, what are you gonna do? We're at
That is true, but I guess for me, I notice it more during this time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
But I am super patient. I at least I try to be. I try to be super patient when someone is not getting my what I'm saying, or I'm not getting what they're saying.
hmm
I like I said, every Mercury retrograde is different. This particular one is all about communication. Like I don't know how many times this morning I told my hubby what I was telling him, and he's like, so, and he repeated what I was saying, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk away from you right now, and we're gonna try this again.
though that you say that, and it just triggered. I had a conversation with somebody. I mean, it was a text, right? Which can be misleading anyway, because like with a text message, you never know the tone, you never know the intention, and you don't even know if they used punctuation, right? So you can read
Yeah,
it a million ways. But I had one back and forth, and it's like I put the information in the text, and the text that came back asked me a question that was answered in my text. And so I said, rather than be snarky, I said, oh, well, and I repeated it. And then they're like, so this is what you expect, or this is what I need to do? And I was like, go back to our first text. It's got
yeah.
all the details. Oh, it was
That's
crazy.
a perfect example. That
Mhm.
is a perfect example. So how can we deal with that instead of just letting, wanting to go around strangling every person we see for 3 weeks?
Right.
I think that instead of texting, you could have called that person and said, hey, I think that you missed this text and this is what I need from you by end of day today.
Yeah.
Because we can all get ourselves all riled up because, and I have a great example that I texted my friend something and she didn't respond. And then she texted me something that had nothing to do with that question. And instead of getting upset with her for not telling me the answer to my question, I said, you know what? I'm not meant to know right now. Or she didn't see it. But pushing
Checking my
her,
text.
it's not you, but pushing someone to maybe talk about something that they're not ready to is also a way to just like slow down and just kind of let people have their moment to deal with things and process things too. Because sometimes when you feel like someone's pushing you and you're on to answer their question or to tell you something, it's on their timeline,
Mhm.
and that's not fair.
Right.
So
Yeah. Okay, so what are we looking forward to next? What is the opposite, or what is the the seasonal change or whatever? What's next? What's up next after Mercury retro? Is there a next?
That's an interesting way to look at it. You have to, in my opinion, you have to be informed about Mercury retrograde. You have to, believe that it's something that affects our universe during this time. And if you don't, you don't. And you probably are just stopped listening to us a long time ago. But if this is something you're interested in or it's making kind of sense to you, then just take stock of where you're at right now and just set an intention for where you want to be at the end of it. And I think that also is a nice way of dealing with it and experiencing Mercury retrograde because it's not a negative thing.
Right.
Although negative things can happen to people if you're not, aware of it, I think that it's a really lovely time of the year to reset. So that's how I choose to look at it.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Tell us where you learned about it. You gave me a couple of references.
Hmm. I actually learned about it from an ex-boyfriend in New York. He he started saying something about Mercury retrograde and I had no idea. And then of course I started doing my own research. And New York City is one of the most fascinating places to watch Mercury retrograde be in happening because so many people get so aggro and you're just like, oh, you don't know it's Mercury retrograde. Okay.
Did you?
Honking,
Yeah,
yelling. Oh my,
really?
yeah, it's a thing.
They probably would be like that even if they knew.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
it slowed me down. It made me a little bit more calmer. So you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. So you mentioned a couple of sites that you follow and you post. There's one in particular that you post that's always got a nice one. And I was trying to think about it today without like being rude and being on my social media while I'm talking to you. Um, it had a date at the top, like every day. You don't post every day, but you post and it's always dated at the top, and then it's just this nice soothing. And I was just thinking, um, because you stumble onto a new, I've got to find it. You stumble onto new places on social media. Social media can be like a brain suck and a time suck and a numbing sort of thing, but you can also learn some cool things on there. And sometimes we know there's always, if you find positivity and you're looking at the right things, they can
Hmm.
they can be motivating, they can be spiritual, they can be centering sometimes. And I was just thinking today, one of them that you posted was, I thought, oh, that's nice. And so I was just going to, um, yeah, I was
I
going
know which ones you're talking about, and every day it says today, and it gives the date, and then a nice little message.
to,
I honestly follow so many positive sites that I wouldn't be able to until I start looking at it to tell you what account that is.
uh
But that's what I want my feed flooded with. I don't want drama. I don't want gossip. I don't want sad news. I want to wake up every morning to positive affirmations, positive vibes, to set my intention for the day. So I really follow many, many, many accounts like that.
hmm
But we can always update our listeners to that particular one. Or you can just start following me at Organized by Rachel on Instagram and you'll start seeing it too.
And their stories. Yes, yes. Yeah, I have several of those too. And it's just like the ones you pay attention to are the ones that show up. And um, yeah, if you start really liking and really following positive things on your social media, it can be a a day changer for you because we have our phones. We're all going to scroll. You know, I don't know anyone who doesn't randomly take a break at some point or another. And so if you're putting those positive things on there, um, I think it's easier to slow down and it's easier to think. positive.
Well, and plus I do that because I also want to spread that into the world. And so my stories are always filled with positive things because I don't know if we, like you were just saying, take a moment to think about one thing that is positive or one thing that's beautiful in the world. I know that so many of us get trapped in that constant barrage of negativity and negative stories. And I made the choice, I think during 2020 when it just became too much, I just stopped watching any kind of news. I mean, that's just craziness. And I don't want that in my everyday life.
Yeah, I don't
So,
watch it either. That's another thing that we have in common. It's not worth, I mean, like the world may end and I'm not gonna know. I'm just gonna
great.
know.
I don't want to. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's very positive. Yeah. And I think just like your 222, I mean, for you take a pause. For me, I see 222 and I instantly say thank you and I enter into just a real brief prayer. Same thing. Same, I mean, like same settling Thanksgiving awareness just because that showed up in front of you, right? And if like it happens 20, well, no, it doesn't happen 24 times a day. But yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it should happen 12 times a day. I think, no, yeah. So 12/12 would be the last time it would happen.
111, 220.
Right, but I'm said so 111, 22, 33, 44. You know what I mean? So 12/12 in our clock would be
Yes.
the last time it would happen. I mean, and that still happens twice a day.
Yeah. Yep.
So listen, we've already established I'm not good at math, so
What I do though is sometimes I just want an excuse to pause. And so when I can't get a 777 or an 888 because they don't exist,
mhm.
sometimes when I see an 876, um,
Oh yeah.
I do the same thing, or a 123, or if I look at my watch and it happens to be like 3:11:31, I don't know. Anyway, make excuses to get lost in the slowness and to pause and say thanks, no matter what you're doing,
I
right?
love that. Yes, I love that. Find the beauty in everything. And I think that's just a perfect example of how we can do that. It takes practice. I was about to say it's so easy. It's easy now because I've made it a daily practice. But, just the one thing that I heard recently, someone told me, anytime you have a negative thought or your brain wants to go straight to negativity or fear or whatever, think immediately of three things that whatever situation you're in is doing correctly or going to do right or the best outcome that you can possibly imagine. And I like that. And I've been trying to implement that in things that I might feel fearful or overwhelmed or, whatever about. So it's,
And I
it's,
love how you've taken something that people view as a negative. Mercury retrograde. Oh, that's happening to you because of this, right? That's the
Mhm.
negative. And instead, you've just taken this whole topic and you've spun it on its toes and you've turned it positive. Look at what we can do because we know this is the consequence if we don't do this, right? I mean, so embrace your Mercury retrogrades, right?
Oh, I
Yeah.
love you, MR.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
I'm texting my bestie about it, I'm like, MR starting.
Nice. Nice. Well, I will learn more. Again, I don't know much. You've informed me. I'm so much smarter today about it than I was 10 minutes ago. So I appreciate you. And we'll have to I'm gonna pay attention as November rolls around and see if I notice anything happening. Like if I'm more
Well, we have 10 more days of it now, honey. You can start noticing right this minute.
I know.
Just watch people. It's very interesting.
I think I've
Just,
acclimated. I think I'm good in my MR right now. I think it was bad in the beginning. I think I've settled into it and it's a new groove.
oh, I get a little
Not
dance
not
feel,
not
right?
gonna let
A
any
little, a
MR bring
little.
me down. I'm gonna like go forth and be happy.
I love it.
All right.
That's all Mercury wants from us is to be happy.
Yeah.
He's just, kind of putting those things in our face and saying, hey, hey, hey,
Nice. Slow
not
down.
to.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, anything else you want to share with us?
Again, like I'm just sharing what I know about it. There's always more to learn, and I definitely don't come at it from an astrology perspective. It's an energy and experience for me.
Mhm. I just think it's great to continually spend our lives learning about new things.
Hmm.
And maybe
And
it never affects me. Maybe it will never affect me again, right? But I
no,
know about it and I learned from you and I had a great conversation and I had so much fun dancing in my new office. And
yeah, your wall looks amazing back there, by the
thanks.
way.
Thanks. I thought my all of my friends should be able to see something better than my closet doors.
Yeah.
So I'm
Now,
looking at them for you.
totally off topic, but who painted those giraffes up there?
Well, my husband and I went to one of those like sip and paint sort of things, where you have a teacher and
Yeah,
the giraffe was on display. The kind of skinny, weird mouth looking feminine one I did. And the bold, I have big ears one up here is my
yeah.
husband's. Yeah, we sometimes
They're
let's
both really good.
do things for fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that little date night.
He won't do flowers with me though. Those are done with girlfriends or my mom. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful wall. I'm very
Thank
impressed.
you. Thank you. All right, friend. Well, we will be back again next week talking about some other super cool, fabulous thing. And listeners, if you have anybody you want us to talk to, whether it's an astrologer or whether it's another podcaster or who else, a gardener or a healthcare specialist, leave us a note. Let us know. Who did you say?
I said a pilot and then I was
A
winking.
pilot. Oh, yes, Rachel, you know a pilot.
Okay, look. No, I don't know him.
Oh, you
I
learned of
paid
a
him for
pilot.
his time.
Yeah, no,
But
that's but
we are gonna talk about this for
mhm,
sure
that
because
makes
I
sense.
know.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. And I know that so many of us may not have extreme fears of flying, but there might be some fear of flying. And there's this amazing pilot that I am going to try to get on our podcast and dispel every fear that you have. He's been a pilot for over 30 years, a commercial pilot. And yeah, we chatted and he really put my mind at ease about a lot of things. So yeah, let's get him
Oh,
on here.
absolutely. All right, friend. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. And
I will.
listeners, we hope we see you here again next Friday and the Friday after that.
And every Friday after that. Hey, listeners, we do have an ask. If you're enjoying our show, which I know you are, we would love to have you rate the Whole Woman podcast and share it with your friends. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Bye.